If you don't understand fractal price, you're trading blind. Today I'll explain fractal price step by step so the market finally makes sense. Let's get straight into it. Fractal price refers to the idea that price action repeats the same structure across all time frames, from seconds to months. First, let's understand what this means. Look, we have two diagrams. One is the 4-hour time frame, and the second is the 15-minute time frame. Here, we have a buy-side liquidity sweep, then price retraced back into this fair value gap and moved lower. On the 15-minute time frame, we have the same buy-side sweep that we saw on the 4-hour time frame, and we also have the same fair value gap where price retraced. But here, we can see that we also had another buy-side liquidity sweep, which is called manipulation. Then, we had a market structure shift on the 4-hour time frame, and we see the same market structure shift on the 15-minute time frame. After that, price swept sell-side liquidity on the 4-hour time frame and did the same on the 15-minute time frame. So what this means is that whatever happens on the higher time frame is the same thing the lower time frame will do, and whatever happens on the lower time frame is the same thing the higher time frame will do. Notice here that on the 4-hour fair value gap, we only had a high and nothing else. But on the 15-minute time frame, we had a manipulation. So let's get straight to the charts, and I'll show you how to use fractal price to spot the right manipulation and target the actual draw on liquidity. But before going to the charts, I just want to announce that you can use my code FAITHFX and get 55% off on all evaluations on Quant Teckle, or you can check out the link in the description. Now let's get to the charts. Coming to the charts, we are currently on the daily time frame, and here we can see the market has swept buy-side liquidity, which means it could move to the downside. But first we have to mark our sell-side liquidity. We can see a swing low right here, which becomes our draw on liquidity. On top of that, we have a daily fair value gap that is currently being retraced. So we know that the market will move lower from this fair value gap, but we don't know when. So let's shift down to the 1-hour time frame. Here we can see that 1-hour buy-side liquidity is getting swept at this fair value gap, which means we now have the manipulation we want and price is ready, move to the downside. You can see the gap being retraced on the daily time frame, and we have a manipulation on the 1-hour time frame, which simply means that both time frames are reacting and telling us that the market will go lower. Now let's wait for some sort of bearish confirmation. So when it comes to waiting for confirmations, you always have to be patient enough to spot the right one. A lot of traders get pissed off and become impulsive by watching just a simple confirmation, and they start entering early, only to get stopped out. Here, we get a market structure shift to the downside. We also have a bearish fair value gap. Let's mark it out. Now we will enter here, place our stop at the high, and target the sell-side liquidity we marked on the daily time frame. Notice how fast price reacts and starts displacing to the downside. Our fair value gap is clearly respected. Now price has swept the daily sell-side liquidity and given us our target. Let's go back to the daily time frame, and I'll explain it again. So, let's remove all of this. Look, we have a daily fair value gap here. Let me mark this out. We knew that price would go lower, but we can't see any confirmation right here. All we can see here is a high getting created on the fair value gap. But we have to have some sort of manipulation and confirmations. So we shift down to the 1-hour time frame. Because price moves the same on every time frame, and we already know it's bearish, we can see a buy-side liquidity sweep here. All of this buy-side liquidity gets swept, price moves lower, gives us our confirmation, and moves exactly as we expected, just by watching the higher time frame. Now after this sell-side liquidity sweep, Let's mark the next swing low as our draw on liquidity. Then we also have another daily fair value gap. Let me mark it out. Once again, we need some sort of manipulation, so let's shift to the 4-hour time frame. Here we can clearly see a high that has been partially swept at the daily fair value gap. Now let's shift down to the 15-minute time frame, but let's wait for another sweep. This is just an engineered high. Once again, our buy-side liquidity gets swept. But again, we don't have any strong confirmation, so let's wait for a good and strong confirmation. Notice how the market keeps sweeping the highs again and again and retracing back to our fair value gap. This is nothing but engineered liquidity, and the only way to protect yourself in these conditions is to shift to a higher time frame and wait only for strong higher time frame confirmations. Now notice that we have a 1-hour inverse fair value gap here. This is an inversion with a strong displacement, which is called a strong confirmation. Now let's see what happens next. Look how price respected the higher time frame inverse gap. Look how fast it displaced strongly to the downside. Now it's near a sell-side liquidity level. Let's see what happens. Look, it swept our sell-side liquidity. Now let's wait for the daily sell-side liquidity to get swept. So now the market has also swept the sell-side liquidity we marked earlier. This is called a perfect fractal price. Notice how price displaced to the downside after retracing to our fair value gap. So thanks for watching. If this video helped you see the market a little more clearly, make sure you join my Telegram and Discord server. That's where I share daily market overviews, clean setups, and real-time insights, plus you get access to a serious trading community that's focused on growth, not noise. And if you're looking to take things to the next level with proper guidance and one-to-one mentorship, you can check out the link in the description or simply drop me a message on Discord. I'll see you there, and I'll see you in the charts.